Hey, thanks so much, Emiliana, for having me on today. My name is Nina van Schaik. I am a midwife, a home birthing mother of two, and I'm also a femtech founder. So I've spent nearly 13 years being a midwife and helping people have babies both in the NHS and in private practice. And I created a company, my latest baby, 18 months ago to tackle the issue of inadequate care to prevent perineal trauma in vaginal birth. So that's currently what I am birthing myself. But yeah, that's I'm still very much involved in the birth world and find myself giving lots of breastfeeding support, frankly, and I love still being involved in supporting families.
No, it's amazing and definitely a huge variety, but it all comes back to one thing, doesn't it? Make sure
Oh
people
yeah,
are still supported at this critical time of life. So yeah,
yeah.
it's lovely to have met you and hear what you're doing. So let's go straight into it, shall we? Because we've got a few,
Please.
which I think when they came in, I thought they're quite chunky ones. So we're going to get straight on, and we might have people joining kind of randomly throughout, but I'll keep an eye on that if anyone asks questions in the chat. So let's start off with actually, you said you're a home birthing mum yourself. So let's start with the home birth one about their local hospital. They really want to have a home birth, but their local hospital
Mhm.
team are rarely available due to staff shortages. Sadly, so much of that happening, isn't there, across the country?
Yeah.
What are their options? I know that's a little bit tricky because you don't know what hospital they're at, but just generally, what can someone do as kind of first steps?
I think as first steps, it's good to engage with the team and see what the realistic options are within that trust. To engage with a consultant midwife if you have one, and make a really solid plan to keep you at home. Um, Midwives and consultant midwives and the trusts want to help you. They want to help you. They obviously have staff shortages, and I wish I had a magic wand to undo that, as we all know what pressures the service is under. I think there are other options, especially if you have the resources, but unfortunately, that means that paying for services, which are expensive, because and there's a service now called Zest, which covers independent midwives. So what you get there is an independent midwife who'll look after you throughout your whole pregnancy and then up to a month, 6 weeks postpartum as well. So it's an entirely different model. However, the insurance is incredibly expensive. So that unfortunately that has to come from somewhere. So that's out of reach for most people, which is very sad for me. I
Yeah.
think getting that advocacy, first off, getting a support within the trust. So speaking to your community midwife, speaking to someone in that community midwife team who supports home birth, to find the consultant midwife or the senior midwife within that team who supports home birth and who will advocate for you, and make a plan that you are going to stay at home. I think having that strength and knowledge from support groups like what Emiliana is providing, so having those stories and saying, no, we can absolutely do this at home. Knowing that what your options are. So is there a birth centre you can go to? What are your second and third options within that plan, so that you also have got enough information to make that choice. I had two babies at home. I was very lucky that my options were supported in the first case in the NHS, and then second time round I actually had an independent midwife. But again, I realise that's out of the reach of most people, and it was a stretch for us.
Yeah.
But I prioritised it because I wanted to have complete because I'm a midwife and I wanted to have complete control over everything. And basically was able to access that. But I think the key thing is finding support from your community. So not only through Pregnant Hub but also there might be an NCT home birth group near you, and you could find out essentially who the supporters and advocates are within that trust,
Yeah.
and really start to try and put a plan in place to
Yeah.
see whether that's the case for everyone, or whether they can try and make a plan, individualized plan with you, because that's what we should be moving to in the NHS. We should be moving to individualized birth planning. And you might not be, there might not be very many people who are looking for a home birth at that point. So make your voice heard. Your experience is important. You are important. And making an individualized plan with you is completely possible. And I'm a bit naughty, and I know this has always been this has been recorded. It will be held against me, but I always think that actually, if you are saying I'm going to stay at home, they have to come.
Yes. So yeah, that I was going to touch on that, and I know it's tricky because it's not necessarily what you'd find on the NHS website as an option, but the
And we
reality is
we
that
shouldn't have to do that. Come on, we shouldn't have to do that. And it's not about playing games, and it's not trying to, but for goodness sake, you know, it's less than 10% of women who want to birth at home. Surely we can make that work for them.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. I
It's a bit
think
naughty. I always say, actually, you have to make yourself a massive pain in the ass.
yeah,
Like, you be phoning that community midwife and that consultant midwife every week. Like, email them.
and I think
And
people
that,
just don't know sometimes that you can do that, and that's
yeah,
the thing that kind of when you shout the loudest, it's normally the ones who kind of get.
shy bones getting out.
I know. And yeah, when pregnancy, the last thing you want to be doing is kind of having those sorts of, it almost feels like a fight
Advocating,
sometimes, but it,
constantly advocating for yourself, especially if you're getting to that post 35 week period where you should be building your oxytocin. That's not the time for battles. It's time you need to have your plan sorted and not have to basically not have to advocate for yourself. But unfortunately, in the current system, it's when we have to start advocating for ourselves.
yeah.
Yes, we could talk for half an hour about that, Emiliana, couldn't we?
I know, and probably each of these questions are going to have an undertone of being advocate for yourself or having someone who can help you with that.
Yep.
I just wanted to ask, roughly, as a rough figure, like what would someone expect to pay for an independent midwife? I know it kind of depends at time in pregnancy and the package, but let's just
Yes.
say maybe let's go for the minimal care, but so they could have that accessible to them.
It's around about the 5 grand mark.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good for people to know because I think it's one of those like mystical things that it's quite hard
Yeah.
to pinpoint. So that would be maybe from what, 36 weeks care?
No, it would
Like,
be ideally from earlier, 34 weeks. It's very
okay.
hard. I mean, ideally, most independent midwives will want to take you on much earlier, and they
Mhm.
might be open to negotiation, especially in this point of. I know independent midwives who've been working for years and years who have some wiggle room, but not a great deal because this is their livelihood and they have to pay the insurance.
Yeah.
So I think it's unreasonable to ask them to do it for
No.
free. Much as we would all like, give me your address, I'll just come and sort you out.
No.
But we're all in it for women and families and
Yeah.
birthing people. But it is that level of insurance, and also you're asking someone to be on call for you for 5-6 weeks. So that means, as in my life as providing private midwifery, that means you are you that's your life,
Yeah.
is that you're constantly on call, and that's what you've chosen. But it is, you're paying someone to be committed to you for that
Yeah.
period of time and not travel, always have the car, always be able, within to be able to leave within 5-10 minutes of a phone call. That's a huge commitment, and it's completely worth it. It's a gold standard of care. I have no doubt this is what we should be offering to all women.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's around the I mean, it's upwards of that. And actually the shortening of a package doesn't really make a difference because you still have to book someone, as in you still have to have an establishment of that relationship. Otherwise, what's the point in having
Yeah.
an independent midwife if they're just meeting you for the first time and then you go into labour a week later? That's not what you're paying for. Actually, what you're paying for is to meet someone who will come to your house, will sit and listen to all of your fears, hopes, and dreams for this birth, and make a plan with you that will work and will be there for you. That's the magic, as well as all their skill and experience and all the wisdom they bring to that process, as well as being available to you. So yeah, this isn't a advert for independent midwives. They're
No,
asked,
I guess
you
I
know,
want to take the opportunity to make sure that people kind of understand what's involved and the postpartum part. I think that's obviously included too, like your
it's
checks
huge.
and for babies, so not having to go into hospital. So
Yeah.
it's just understanding the full spectrum of care you're getting, really.
Yes. The other thing I would say is that, this feels like a really big thing. You're like, oh my goodness, I can't have my birth that this is what I've got my absolute heart set on. And maybe for various reasons that plan might have to change anyway in the in the journey.
Yeah.
I think having a tool on board that allows you to roll with those changes. I'm not saying you shouldn't advocate for yourself. I'm not saying you shouldn't question things that are being offered to you.
Mhm.
But to have something, for example, I use hypnobirthing for both my births because I'm a midwife, right? And because I'm very much in my front brain and I needed to unmidwife myself to get to the point where I could have a baby. Um, I think having something that then allows you to feel safe wherever you are and to have that bubble wherever you are. I tested it out for the first time when my son was breech, and I opted to have an ECV. So that's an external cephalic version, which is basically a midwife and a surgeon flipping him around from the outside of my belly. And I was able to use my hypnobirthing to put myself into an amazing bubble, to go into the hospital to have that done, and then to have, and then to go, on my way and continue on with my pregnancy journey. So I am a huge advocate for making that space wherever you are, and that's to do with who you choose to be with you, how you choose to plan your birthing, and how you choose to plan your coping strategies and your comfort strategies and everything you're going to take with you. Because even if that's not then in your home, in the place where you envisage it,
Yeah.
you will still have you will still have that bubble around you, and it will still preserve your oxytocin and allow you to birth well. That's my bottom line.
Oh, I'm totally with you. And that kind of forward planning and thought is so key, to have those different versions of what it could look like so that it doesn't
Exactly.
vary on the day. And
And
that
regardless, yeah, sorry.
no, I was going to say that if your birth partner also being on the same page and understanding those different scenarios is really key as well.
And it might not necessarily think hard about that person. You know, it might not be the person that you think should be there.
Yeah.
It might be the person that you have a really strong gut instinct needs to be there with you. Someone who's seen what normal looks like, who has experienced that potentially for themselves, or has those kind of skills to advocate for you. And there are all sorts of people who come with people to birth. I once looked after a woman who had her dad with her, which is a very unusual choice, but she told me that she basically felt absolutely safest with her dad.
Yeah.
And she had a lovely baby. But there we go. It's one of
Yeah.
those things, isn't it?
Yeah.
Think very carefully about who is with you.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, so let's go on to the next one. So I'm 39 plus 4 weeks and being asked about sweeps and booking one at 40 weeks. So she's unsure whether to go ahead. Do they actually help? There's been no complications of pregnancy or risk factors, but yeah, I think they want a bit of reassurance as to is there any point or what should she do?
Oh, we do love offering a sweep, don't we? Just a little sweep. Should we talk about that?
Yeah.
Okay, so I can't give you clinical advice. I'm
No.
not your midwife, obviously, because I don't know any of your history and I'm not your midwife. But I would say there is a very, very good pack of resources on this on the AIMS website. A stretch and sweep, so just to clarify what that is for everyone who doesn't know, is a midwife doing an internal examination, trying to reach your cervix, that's the neck of your womb, with her fingers or his fingers, and actually stretching and sweeping around between the membranes and the cervix, okay, to stimulate the production of prostaglandins, which is part of the softening process. Okay, this is an intervention. It's not particularly strongly backed by evidence. In fact, there's fairly good evidence to suggest if you want it to be effective, you need to have two within a 72-hour period. That's the most effective way of doing it. But it is the start of the induction cascade process. Okay, so you may feel that having read some information about it, that you're happy to leave it because we know that your body will probably go into labour on its own. There's very few people walking around with a 40-year-old still in utero.
Yeah.
We have become completely obsessed with inducing people. Our induction rates are going higher and higher, and
Yeah.
that correlates with lots of other things that are also happening to people. I think very carefully about yourself and the function of that for you. I think there are lots of things you can do that are far more fun to avoid a stretch and sweep. And sex is one of them. Please
Yeah.
have lots of sex,
Yeah.
either on your own or with a partner, doesn't matter. But having penetrative sex is good.
Yeah,
Sperm contains more prostaglandins than anything we can give you pharmaceutically.
that's
Um,
mad, isn't it?
it's completely mad, but also weirdly there is a correlation, and there's a paper that cites the more people who had regular penetrative sex with ejaculation in pregnancy actually had less overdue babies. But let's talk about the normal span of pregnancy, please, and let's talk about the fact that in France we would only really start intervening at 41 weeks because we consider that to be the normal length of pregnancy. If you
Yeah,
look at all of us and the length of our menstrual cycles, some of us are elephants, some of us are mice. This is
yeah,
it's all got out of hand.
yeah.
Arm yourself with the evidence, advocate for yourself. If everything is well, there is no need to intervene. You can't go around plucking fruit off a tree and expect it to be ripe.
That's such a good analogy because that I think because it is just offered so routinely and like you said earlier, like a little sweep and just something that is there are no implications for it. It's just something that's very straightforward when actually there can be a lot of implications. We just don't know what they are. So yeah, I
If you
think
think about it, you can go through an entire pregnancy and birth process without anyone sticking their fingers up your vagina.
yeah, yeah.
And babies do still come out.
Yes, and it's one of those where you've got to do what you feel comfortable with, and some people genuinely will feel like that is examinations and checking in on things helps their anxiety come down, right?
Yeah.
But it's not because you should be doing it; it's because you
No.
want to do it, and that helps you.
And knowing that's an option
Yeah,
is the most important thing.
yeah.
I'll tell you a funny thing. That I was a midwife who in my first birth wrote all over my birth plan, don't examine me, don't examine me, don't want it. And then literally the minute my colleague got to my house, I was like, I want an examination, I want to know. And she was like, do you? It's like, do
And that
it
is the
now.
thing in the moment, so you just don't know how you're going to feel. That's hilarious.
You can change your mind both ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say if you're going to have one, read about it, book another one within 72 hours. If you're going to do that, you need to do the full package of everything that we would do around that. And I mean, if you are preparing to feed your baby with human milk with your milk, do some hand expression, bounce on the ball, do all the things you need to do. Consider pumping if you have that capacity, if you have a pump at home in that period in between. But nothing is going to make you go into labor if you're not ready.
No. And yeah, that's the biggest thing, isn't it? There's no magic wand. It's just about supporting your physiology, right? And so both the sex and the pumping is stimulating oxytocin, right? So that's
Yeah.
helping to give you a boost.
It's all about the oven and not about the cookbook, as I
Yeah.
often say. But yeah, so stimulating oxytocin is the hormone that makes your uterus contract. And it goes up at the end of pregnancy. You increase your receptivity, you're going to have your receptors to it in your uterine muscle, which is what you need to be working on doing in that third trimester. So increasing oxytocin by feeling safe, reducing your stress, trying to get a massage or loving touch, trying to surround yourself with people who are going to be positive with you, lovely food, lots of naps, all the stuff that basically we don't allow ourselves to do in the third trimester because we're busy finishing off work and rushing around and doing all these things. Actually build that time in because that's actually far more valuable than any intervention.
And maybe it's a good time to talk quickly about positioning as well, being mindful of how you're moving or sitting of the
Yeah,
evenings of the later weeks of pregnancy, because that can also play in, can't it, to how
make a big
things
difference.
kind of kick off.
And if it was accessible to you, I would recommend some body work. If you have access to a body worker, again, that's a private service at the moment, not when I take over the world, but at least one session with someone who's good at basically getting you into good alignment for birth is very positive and very reassuring for lots of people. But if you can't do that, then as Emiliana said, there's an amazing website called Spinning Babies. Have a look, and there are 3 things to do daily, which anyone can do with any equipment anywhere, to prep yourself. And just getting into that rhythm of doing those 3 things daily is a good thing.
Yeah, and it can just help you mentally, can't it, to feel like you're doing something. Sometimes sweeps with just that. It's like, oh, I could do something to make this happen. You're just so fed up.
Yeah,
But yeah, that's
but also it happens. It happens. There's not an exam you have to pass. It's like it will happen.
Yeah.
And we're really bad at waiting for things, and we're really bad at things that aren't scheduled
Yeah.
in this world. Yeah.
We are. And then all of that kind of waiting time is a distant memory very quickly.
I know. And then you're desperate for the opportunity to have a nap.
Yes,
I
exactly.
think cake is an extremely good induction tool, and so are afternoon naps and wandering around,
Yeah.
bumbling about, doing nothing particular, making sure that your bag is ready.
Yeah.
A very wonderful midwife friend of mine always says that that baby is not going to come until the cot is laid out and there is an outfit for the baby in the cot. So if anyone's desperately overdue right now,
Yeah.
yeah,
Lay it out and have a look at and have a good
yeah,
cuddle of all the clothes and things.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so on to the next one. So I have low diet managed gestational diabetes and wanted a hands-off birth in the birth centre, but feeling like everything is slipping out of my reach. Do you have any advice on how I push for what I want to have, as the thought of all of the interventions without the real need, in my opinion, is giving me so much anxiety?
I'm really sorry for the anxiety this is causing you. I think it's very common at the moment, particularly with we have tightened, I would say, the criteria around gestational diabetes testing. And so we're testing more people and we're finding more people are gestational diabetic on lower numbers than we were. There's very interesting information on that, again, on the AIMS website, on the Birth Rights website. I think, again, I can't give you clinical advice. I can come back to this advocacy and going to your consultant midwife, who is the person in the trust who is responsible for helping people who want to consider out of guidance birth, and make that first, have a phone call with them and see what see if they're receptive to you making a plan to go to the birth centre, and ask them what their concerns are about your particular case with your BMI and your pregnancy history, and whether they can give you an individualized risk factor for those concerns, which is very important. And of course they probably won't be able to because we don't have enough data. But I think starting with that, an individualized plan, is always the best way to go. Starting with that open conversation with the trust as well, and knowing that you're, again, what we were saying before, that you're important and that you're going to do this maybe, a handful of times in your life. And yeah, you're important. Your experience matters.
Yes, and feeling like you're not being pushed into anything or things are being
Yeah.
taken out of your reach or control. But, sometimes that will be the best pathway for you, but it can just feel like sometimes the way it's communicated or it's just right, that's off the table now, it can feel a bit jarring, to say the least.
Yeah, absolutely. And it feels like you're, like you say, like that person said, it's slipping away, or the options are just slipping away, and you're being kind of funneled down this point. But also, I think it comes back to taking control of your own. If it's diet controlled, absolutely, there's some amazing resources online. I'm sure Emiliana can also highlight them for kind of really managing your glucose in pregnancy. I mean, there's a whole load of stuff that's coming out about actually what we should be eating to make our glucose, our blood sugar really level. And that really helps us in life in general, but also crucially in pregnancy, is eating, basically reducing sugar in the diet and eating real food when that's accessible to you. And I think doing some really in-depth reading and looking at your diet. I'm not saying this is diet related for you. It might well be something that's in your family, or there's other factors, but also doing a bit of reading around gestational diabetes and the things that have changed in the last couple of years in terms of the spectrum we are now testing for.
Yeah.
And deciding whether you fit that category.
Yes, it does feel like there's a lot of, it is out of date now, sadly, the guidance that you do get from the NHS, because things are moving quite quickly on that side, aren't they?
Very quickly, and hopefully in the right direction. But it's catching up and actually being more informed probably than the people that are.
Yeah.
Certainly community midwives. Community midwives are wonderful, brilliant, amazing people. But they can't possibly be on top of all of the latest, particularly in terms of nutrition and that sort of stuff. I mean, they might have a specialism, but yeah.
Yeah. We do have some really amazing resources that have been contributed
Great.
on here, so I'll link into those as well. So thank you so much for that, Nina. We tried to keep it kind of short and sweet, and I'll obviously highlight the topics we've talked about so people can see if it's relevant for them and listen. But we'll put your details there as well in case anyone wants to get in touch and learn more about what you're doing with Peri-Pear as well, because it's fascinating.
Thank you. Yeah, great. I'm always happy to chat, and I'd love to come back and update you on Peri-Pear and what we're doing. We've had a very busy year. But yeah.
Yes, and you're based in Oxfordshire, aren't you?
In Oxfordshire, yes. Yeah. And I just would like to say hope everyone's doing their perineal massage from 35 weeks.
Yes, that maybe we'll have you on for that one next time. That's a whole other topic, isn't it?
It's a whole other
We
topic.
do have some videos, but yeah, just just talking about what it is and why. Just like to keep it top of mind of people. So thanks for that.
Thanks so much.
All right, well, have a lovely rest of your day, and we'll catch up soon.
Great, lovely to see you. Take
And
care.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.